I have always used eBay's promoted listings feature. It's just always made sense to me. You pay a little bit more and you get a little bit more attention on your listings. But when you start to look at the data, the conversion rates, and the way that eBay attributes sales, it starts to feel like eBay's hiding a little bit of the truth and showing it to be better than it actually is. I asked you guys if you thought eBay's promoted listings was a complete scam, and 70% of you said that it was. So in today's video, what I want to do is break down exactly how the promoted listings feature works, why eBay's new promoted listings rule seems so wrong, and I also want to chat about if it's even worth promoting your listings at all. A little bit later in the video as well, I want to discuss best offers because I think there's some really useful information on how to do that correctly as well. But let's get into the promoted listings. Alright, so when you choose to list up a product on eBay as a promoted listing, eBay's going to give you two different options. They're going to give you the blue bucket option, which is the priority campaign strategy, and they're also going to give you the red bucket, which is the general campaign strategy. Now, there is also a terminology of the word organic. Organic is when an item does not sell via promoted listings at all. I'm going to be using that word a little bit later in this video on a number of occasions, and that's what it refers to. Now, let's break down these two different buckets and what they actually mean. First of all, the blue bucket. The blue bucket, the priority campaign strategy, this is a cost per click payment structure. So if you've listed up a product and it's a listing that people are clicking on and they're wanting to potentially buy it, but they don't buy it, you're still having to pay the cost of every single time somebody clicks on that item. This is a real struggle if you're an inexperienced seller, and we often see the experienced sellers choosing to go down this path to maximize their number of sales that they can get. If you're creating a bad listing that is still being found and being clicked on, but nobody wants to buy it because maybe you've got an incorrect price point, you're going to rack up a lot of money because people are going to be clicking. So this is not typically something that a beginner eBay flipper, reseller, thrift store hunter would probably want to go down the path of. This is more for bigger stores with replenishable products, and they know exactly what they're doing. eBay's aware of this, and eBay also has the general campaign strategy, which is our red bucket. Now, our red bucket is heavily used by people like me, people like you, that sell part-time on eBay and we're trying to flip a couple of goods for a few dollars. This structure is a cost per purchase, which is so much nicer and so much more forgiving for people that might not be experienced selling on eBay. The cost per purchase means that 100 people could click on the listing, but you haven't paid any amount of money until somebody goes, you know what? I'm going to take a chance and buy this one. Now you set yourself a rate between 0% and 100%, and then you wear that cost when somebody buys the item. Now guys, before we dive in a little bit further, I do need to say that I've got an eBay store health check, a bit of a quiz that you can do on your own store to have a look at the eBay data within your store to deem whether or not you're actually performing in a healthy way. You can go ahead and check that one out. We have mentoring calls off the back of it. So if you're underperforming, you can simply go through and book in a mentoring call, and then you and I can have a discussion as well. So really important to make sure that your store's performing really well, and you can check it out right there. So for the rest of this video, we're only going to talk about the red bucket, the general campaign strategy that we all use as eBay sellers. Now, it gets a little bit convoluted, but I'm going to simplify this for you to make sure that you fully understand the way that this works, because no general campaign strategy is treated the same. There are many different mechanisms that cause a promoted listing to be called a promoted listing. There's actually three different terminologies that can result in a general campaign promoted listing sale. And what these are referred to as direct, halo, and you've also got new. I'm calling it new because I don't believe it's got a name yet, and it was launched in just June of this year, so only a couple of months ago. This has only been around for 3 months, and is the third rule. It's the new rule that attributes a sale to a general campaign strategy promoted listing sale. So let's break those three down. The first one that we've got is direct. Now, this is as simple as it gets. You have a buyer that comes along and they simply click on a product and they go, you know what, I'm gonna buy it. Now, that click was based on a promoted listing. So therefore, whatever that percentage is that you choose to allocate to that listing is what you have to pay, because the customer found it via promoted, they've bought it via promoted, therefore the sale is done. 3%, 4%, whatever you choose to put on it gets paid. Pretty simple, direct. The second one though gets a little bit more convoluted, and it refers to the halo strategy. Now, the halo strategy, or the halo effect I should say, is a buyer clicks on a promoted listing and doesn't buy, but then buys a product within the next 30 days, promoted or organic. Basically, you're paying because the promoted listing exposed the buyer to your store. So person A comes into your store, says, oh, that looks good, but they don't buy it. And then a week later, they're drawn back to your store and then they choose to buy something, whether it be organic or promoted. No matter what, they came initially via a promoted listing. The halo effect causes you to pay that additional cost in promoted listing. Now, none of this is new information. The new rule that's come into it has definitely affected things, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, but I want to show you the data of what me choosing to list all of my items up for at a 3% promoted listing has done to my effective sales. I've got the numbers for you here. At just 3%, 63.4% of my sales are attributed to a promoted listing sale. It's a really big number when you look at the organic sales are only 36.6%. So I look at that and I think, wow, for just 3% worth of additional fees, I'm getting 2/3 of the total number of my sales. Now let's have a look at the new rule. The new rule that has just come into place, which is, I call it new rule because I don't have a name for it, but this is a unique one. This is one that has ruffled a few feathers, including my own, in the community over the last 3 months. Now I will say, before I show you what this new rule is, it's only available, or not even available because we don't really want it, it's only accessible and used in Australia and Europe. So those that are watching from America, well done, because it's not available where you are. So what this rule refers to is, I'll read this out. Buyer A clicks on a promoted listing and they don't buy it. But then buyer B finds the same listing, whether it's organic or promoted, and they buy it. You pay the promoted listing fee if it was bought within 30 days of the original click. And that's the stipulation with a lot of these promoted listings, is it needs to be all done, all of these rules, the halo effect, the new rule, it needs to happen within a 30-day window. But even still, this rule just doesn't make sense. As an example in the real world, if I can use an analogy for you, it's like you've got a realtor that's trying to sell a home and he has a house opening on a Saturday and a bunch of people come through, but they don't buy the house. And then a couple of weeks later, somebody comes along and they choose to buy the house. And then the realtor goes, oh, well, I'm going to attribute that purchase of the property based on the open home that I had 2 to 3 weeks ago. Like, that open home had absolutely nothing to do with it, yet you have to attribute the sale to the open home that took place. It does not make sense. Why are we being charged a promoted listing fee on something that has complete irrelevance? I get the halo effect where you're being brought into the store via a promoted listing, but this is person A that's been brought into the store, and then person B finds it organically, and you're still done on it because somebody clicked on the promoted listing 20 days ago? Doesn't make sense to me, doesn't make sense to a lot of other sellers. This is where it's got really, really annoying for a lot of people. It's not justified, it doesn't make sense, it's really annoying. But it's been in place for 3 months. So I've thought to myself, well, Matt, what are you going to do? Because you're already looking at 63% of your sales coming through promoted. Now you've got this new rule that's going to be a lot of other people that are going to be causing promoted listing purchases. This is going to be a nasty number. Let's let it ride. I chose, let's stick it with the 3% and just see what happens. And then today, of all days, 3 months into it, I'll reflect, I'll make a YouTube video and I'll explain my findings. These are my findings. I've done absolutely no different to my strategy, but now an extra 23.5% has come through via promoted listing attribution models. All of the attribution models that we've discussed has resulted in 86.9% of my listings being deemed to be a promoted listing. Only 13.1% have truly come through as organic without any form of promotion. So that's a pretty big number. It's a massive number, and I've thought to myself, what should I do based on the fact that every single one of my listings are promoting at 3% worth of an extra fee? I said, should I stop my listings altogether as promoted listings? Or should I start to just choose which items I promote? Maybe I could say, look, I'm not going to promote this listing. It's a very, very good in-demand item. I don't need to be wearing it. Pretty much guaranteed now, 3% worth of an additional fee. And I thought to myself, before I do that, let's just have a look at a bit more of the data. And this is where eBay's hiding a little bit of truth. They are shirking it and hiding a bit of truth and making this look like it's better than it actually is. Let me explain. So we're going to look at conversion rates, because I went into the conversion rate data on my eBay Seller Hub that you guys all have access to, and I noticed some pretty interesting data that really caught my eye. I had a ton of clicks that were organic, 9,231 clicks organically. Promoted listing clicks on my listings, 2,754. Now you've got to remember, a click is just a click. This is somebody just browsing a listing. They may leave, they may never buy an item. But when you look at the data of the sales, even though my organic listing views were so high, I only had 58 items that went on to sell organically. And promoted listings, the views were so low, yet my sales were super high via promoted listings. And with all these different attribution models pulling sales away from organic and calling them promoted, it's no wonder that the data kind of looks like this. eBay is showing you that organic is converting at 0.63%, really poor, and it's showing that promoted listings is converting at 8.86%. So if you're a newbie and you're first starting out on eBay, you look at this data without any knowledge of what I've just explained to you, and you think to yourself, wow, my promoted listings are converting at 10 times better than my organic listing views. Why don't I just keep promoting at a higher percentage? We'll go 5%, 6%, 7%, and this is what eBay wants. eBay is a business themselves, and they are bringing in the promoted listing policy so they can make more money off your sales. There's a standard 12.5% plus any form of promoted listing percentage that you choose to put on. And by showing it to you in this way, it makes you and entices you to want to add in more promoted listing percentage. And I need you guys to be aware of this and stop adding any percentages to your promoted listings, because we've got to break this down. We've got to break down the reason why this is actually not the case and eBay are just inflating it and making it look good. We're going to refer to those things that I was talking about before. We're going to have a look at the halo effect and the new rule effect. Now, this is a really tricky one because I can't really give you an exact percentage of what I think the stealage is. The new rule, the halo rule, how much of a percentage of these organic listings are being stolen and being classified as a promoted listing. But I'm going to go with a bit of benchmarking that I've done some research on, and I think we can attribute about 20% to the new rule, and I think we can attribute about 30% to the halo effect. So if I look at those numbers and I look at the way that it's been stolen from organic, we actually have a new set of conversion rates. And the conversion rates show that organic is about 1.53% of my last 30 days of sales, and my promoted percentage is 3.85%. So it's not quite 10%, but it is still actually really good. I will say that. My promoted listings are converting at 2.5 times better than my organic. And that is taking into account all of the different ways that eBay are stealing organic and are calling them promoted. So there's a bit of truth to it in the sense that it is performing better than organic, but eBay are definitely showing you inflated numbers and making it seem better than it actually is. So my new game plan, if you guys are curious as to how I'm going about this after 3 months of trial, I'm doing nothing. I'm changing absolutely nothing to my strategy. Every single listing, blanketed 3%, and I'm just going to wear the punches because I know that there's going to be a 2.5 increase in my conversion rates if I choose to do promoted listings versus I don't choose to do promoted. For the giving up of 3%, even if it is on 100% of my listings, it still gets me 2.5 times more sales, and at a $50 average sale price, I am far further into the profit, generating a ton more revenue than if I chose to neglect promoted listings altogether. So that is a massive thing that I have uncovered, guys. 2.5 times more is a huge increase in sales for giving up 3%. Now, do you need to promote at 3%? No, you could do 2%. It might not be as good as a 2.5% conversion rate or a 2.5 times conversion rate, but it's still pretty damn strong. So that's promoted listings. Let's now have a bit of a chat about the best offers. So I really think that we are doing best offers incorrectly on eBay. I think a lot of us are making very common mistakes, very easy mistakes, and they're very detrimental to the amount of sales that we can possibly get. Now, I have studied eBay for the last 5 years almost daily. So these little nuances and discussion points that I can bring up in videos like this are hopefully just going to fast track your learnings. And best offers is a talking point of its own. The first one is I am seeing an alarming number of people that don't use the best offer feature. Everybody loves the opportunity to send a best offer and negotiate on a better deal. eBay gives you the capabilities to be able to do that. As a customer serving seller, you need to make sure that you're turning that feature on. 50% of my sales have some form of negotiation when it comes to the sale of the product. 50% of my products naturally just sell at the buy price that I'm choosing to list it up for. 1 in 2, I am bartering with the person to get a result on the sale. I would be sacrificing so many sales if I chose not to open up the best offer feature. So you need to turn that on, the first things first. Secondly, I think a really powerful approach is speed. Right? I think a lot of the times all of us will just go ahead and we'll just rack up all of these best offers. I see this in all of my mentoring calls. I do a lot of mentoring calls, Zoom calls. If you're interested, link is in the description. I basically break down stores and help people get better store performance. And when I go into these stores and I look at the data, I see that the best offers are on, and they've racked up 10 opportunities to send off a best offer, and they're just letting them sit there. All of those people that were interested and they clicked on watch this item have now gone off and bought another item at some point in time since this opportunity came into fruition. So you need to be quick. As soon as somebody goes, I'm interested in this item, and they click watch this, you get that as an alert. You've got to be shooting it off an offer ASAP. I know this gets a little bit pedantic and it means that you're constantly refreshing your phone and you're constantly checking your data on the eBay app, but it's ultimately going to get you more sales. You don't need to be doing it hourly, but every couple of hours, I would definitely just jump into your eBay store and just see what the opportunities are for you to be able to send off a best offer. Now, further to that, there's a huge tool, a huge little trick that I'm doing, which is a very simple step that is getting me so many more conversions via best offer. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm sending a personalized message in the add message box. We always see this when we shoot off a message, but 99% of sellers don't use the opportunity of the box that's right there. Now, there's a really powerful little sentence that I like to add, which I'll give you guys in this video. And I always say, I've just declined an offer for more than what you have offered. And I'm confident this item is going to sell very, very soon. Now, what that has done is it's brought about a counter offer because I'm obviously stipulating what price I'm hoping to get for it. And then it just adds a code of urgency onto that buy price. Then the buyer starts to get a little bit worried that they might not be able to buy the item and somebody else is interested at a higher price. So therefore they'll go ahead and they'll buy your counter offer. Where if there wasn't any urgency, then they may just run away because the data does show that the majority of people will buy. This is the other point, super important point, probably the biggest point. Majority of people will buy on their offer to you as a seller. It's very, very rare for you to be able to send a counter offer and have the buyer go ahead and accept. Some data that I've got in my own store to show this, out of the 50% of sales that sell for me via some form of negotiation, 27 point whatever percent is the seller saying, hey, this is my price. Sorry, the buyer saying, hey, this is my price. And me as the seller saying, yeah, I'll go ahead with that. So you've got to be aware of that. Every time you send off a best offer counter offer, chances are you're not going to get the sale. I think I had about 70% of my sales sell via me sending off a counter offer. So to help those equations and to help that percentage, sending that message of urgency might be able to pick up your counter offers and get more transactions in that way. So there are some nuances there to the best offers. You need to be sending them, you've got to be speed on it, and you've also got to be sending off some urgency as well. But very much understanding that when somebody sends you an offer, the best chance of getting the sale is by accepting it. Oh, and one final point, the 5% best offer rarely gets the job done. It's just not too big of a discount to get somebody interested in the first place. So I'm always sending 10% off best offers if it's within reason and I've got enough margin within my profit margins to be able to warrant a 10% off offer, which I typically do on most products. I'm always sending off now a 10% off and I'm getting better transactions because there is more of a significant discount as opposed to the minimum 5%. Now guys, like I said, if you want further assistance with your eBay business regarding anything, promoted listings, best offers, how to create a title, how to create photos, whatever the case may be, pricing, product, you name it, I do these mentoring phone calls on a daily basis. I absolutely love doing it. We break down all the data and the analytics, and you truly know exactly where your position stands as an eBay business. I've got a quiz. We spoke about the quiz earlier in this video. That is right there, and please go and check it out. And you can actually book a call off the quiz if you're not performing where you want to be. So a really great way to get a bit of a reference check and then go, okay, yep, I do need to jump on a call and speak to Matt. And look, I'm here. I absolutely love doing them and it'd be great to have a chat. I am going to leave you with this video though right here, guys. A ton of tips, a ton of generalized eBay tips to help you with your eBay business. A lot of people seeing a lot of success based on these tips. So go over to that video. We'll see you over there for that one.